The last time I talked about five great preachers, I was really describing the preachers who had an impact on my life personally. But I do think it's fair to address the question, since you asked it, about 10 great preachers of all time. And so what I'm going to do is limit my answer to those who have transitioned from time to eternity and not include great preachers who are alive today and still preaching. I don't think we can talk about great preachers if we're including legacy and impact and um, the outcomes of their ministries. Legacy, impact, and outcomes. We have to start with Billy Graham. Billy Graham was a great preacher. I did not always agree with his theology, and I certainly had some concerns about the otherworldliness of his message as opposed to social impact. But you have to assume that Billy Graham is considered in a list of 10 of the greatest preachers. Of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. has a voice and a message that is now emblazed in the minds, the hearts, and the souls of people worldwide. And so Martin Luther King Jr., as a great orator, as a great speaker, and as a great preacher whose impact is permanent, would have to be on the list of 10 great preachers. Joseph H. Jackson, who was the president of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, for many, many years, and legendary in his ability to stand up in a very contentious situation. And by the time he finished preaching, everybody was unanimously on his side at the convention. Richard Allen, the 18th century Methodist who was really the founder of the African Methodist Episcopal movement. I never heard him preach, and we don't have tapes because of when he served. But when you consider the fact that the African Methodist Episcopal movement is alive today, is well today, that as the founder, he clearly had a ministry impact that is unavoidably present and that is admirably true. And so we include Richard Allen. Charles Wesley and George Whitfield, they come from the same period of American history. Charles Wesley was really the leader of Methodism. And so when you see United Methodist Church, you're seeing the legacy of Charles Wesley, who, along with his brother, moved around a lot. Charles Wesley wrote hundreds of hymns. And so his preaching and his ministry have lasted all of these years. And then George Whitfield, who was an abolitionist and a great preacher who raised the consciousness of the nation at the time that he served, and he would have to be included. Charles Harrison Mason, who was the founder of the Church of God in Christ. He was the bishop that led the Church of God in Christ, and today the Church of God in Christ is still the fastest growing branch of Protestantism, which is really a part of the legacy that lasts as a result of Bishop Mason's leadership. Harry Emerson Fosdick, who actually served First Baptist Church in the little town I grew up in, Montclair, New Jersey, before he went on to pastor the Riverside Church. And Harry Emerson Fosdick was one of the great minds that merged the social gospel with spiritual integrity. And as a great writer, preacher, and thinker, had tremendous impact on many people, including my own mentor, Dr. Samuel DeWitt Proctor. Caesar Clark would have to be considered one of the greatest preachers ever. Caesar Clark would come to a town to preach a revival, and he had a unique style that was only his, and Caesar Clark would pack out auditoriums, even though his name probably was not popularly known beyond the black church. But Caesar Clark from Dallas, Texas, was absolutely a brilliant preacher. E.K. Bailey from Dallas, Texas also. E.K. Bailey was for expository preaching among traditional black Baptists, the leader of the pack. We've had many preachers come behind him to stand on the platform of expository preaching, but E.K. Bailey popularized it and made it meaningful as a genre of preaching in the black church. And then, of course, Gardner Taylor. Gardner Taylor was known not just in black church circles, but he preached for World Baptists, he preached for Methodists. Gardner Taylor was perhaps the most prolific and interdenominational of black preachers in the 20th century. And so I would name those 10 as the top 10 preachers of all time. So now you tell me yours.